I'm Lori.
And I'm Jonathan.
Thank you so much for being here. So, we live in a society where women, especially girls, feel a great deal of pressure to look like a size 0, like the celebrities and supermodels. Not surprisingly, the US weight loss industry hit a new peak in 2018, growing 4% to $72 billion. Even though more than 90% of dieters regain their lost weight, Americans are dieting at the highest rate in history. 57% of US women are now dieting, according to a national telephone survey. Girls who diet frequently are 12 times as likely to binge as girls who don't diet. Over 1/2 of teenage girls and nearly 1/3 of teenage boys use unhealthy weight control behaviors like skipping meals, fasting, smoking cigarettes, vomiting, and taking laxatives.
The diet industry sets us up to fail, knowing that once we regain the lost weight, we will once again spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars embarking on yet another yo-yo diet. And as usual, Big Pharma makes a big profit. Prescription obesity drugs is a $655 million per year market. An estimated 239,000 bariatric surgeries were performed in the US in 2018, constituting a $5.98 billion market. Stop the vicious cycle of losing weight, gaining it back, and beating yourself up.
In Women's Health Secrets, we guide you through not only losing weight, but gaining health.
So it just got to a point where I didn't know if there would ever be relief. Started to feel very hopeless, and that there was just never going to be an answer. And it got to a breaking point when our children were 3 and 7. I was 27, and we were on 144 medications every single year. And they were adding more and more every year instead of taking them off. And I was watching my waist expand, which is not good on your self-esteem. It's not good on your marriage. I found myself hiding in the dark away from my husband. In those moments that I should be totally comfortable with him, here I'm still having a t-shirt on and being miserable and just crying because I didn't want my husband to touch me. And that's not a really good feeling as a wife, to feel so unsexy, so disgusting, honestly. And to know that you'd be willing to do anything if it would just work. But I remember trying this pill, this diet, this thing, and it would last for 7 to 20 days. But as soon as I went back to normal, everything would go back to the way it was. And so there was no real answer. There was nothing that was long-term. And I was miserable. I just wanted to feel like myself in my own skin. I just wanted to get up and have my feet hit the ground and feel like an amazing human being. I just wanted to start my day with energy. I didn't want to be crashing at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock and feeling like I had hit a brick wall with my weight. I just wanted to be able to fit into a pair of pants and not spill out over the top of it. I'd gotten to a size 14 and I was miserable. And I'll never forget thinking, you know what, I'm just going to either eat every single bowl of macaroni and cheese that is ever put in front of my face, and I don't care what size I get to, or I need to do something. And you know, once I was able to lose the 54 pounds and keep it off and not have to be perfect, but to just follow some simple guidelines that are so common sense, there was a huge relief. It was exciting to see that there truly was an answer.
I help millennials heal their face fat and fatigue by helping them discover their hidden food sensitivities. So I say that's what I do, and who I am is restoring self-worth. And the reason I ever even got into this, which a lot of people don't necessarily know, is that when I was growing up, I was the fugly duckling, right? So, you know, I had the acne. I used to look at magazine ads and think that if I could look as beautiful as these CoverGirl models and Maybelline makeup models, that people would value me and love me more. So I just thought that my looks, my body, you know, all of that was a key role in who I wanted to be to the world to be accepted. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that was like the core initial starting piece. And then I've gone on my own pathway of dealing with fatigue and some weight loss issues in grad school. And that kind of initially paved the path that there's something here to help women and patients get better. And so I'm a chiropractic physician, and I went down, the sports rehab path. And I ended up drawing a line in the sand and going fully on with nutrition because when I first started in chiropractic, I was also working on a master's in nutrition and human performance. And I just had this one patient come in, and she had shoulder pain, and we were doing a lot of rehab work, and we got 90% better, but we couldn't get the last 10. And one day she came in shorts. It was a hot summer day, and she was covered in psoriasis. And I'm like, oh my gosh, all of my, prior experience with nutrition and healing myself suggested that there was a gut issue, food problem going on here. And when we addressed that, not only did the psoriasis clear and weight loss happen, but her shoulder pain went away completely.
As women, we're naturally nurturing and caring beings, which means that most of the time we take care of everybody else's needs and we put ourselves last after our spouse, children, family, and friends. And as much as being a nurturer is a gift we bring to the world, we must not forget to take care of ourselves. And actually, as women, we should be very clear on who is your number one priority in life. And I believe after God, that person is you. I used to think that taking care of yourself first is selfish, but I changed my mind completely once I struggled with debilitating chronic health conditions for so many years. Think about it. If you're not healthy, happy, energetic, and vibrant, then how can you be present emotionally and physically to your family and children? I found a way to take my health and my power back after struggling for many years with difficult health challenges. You can find all the healing protocols that are especially designed for women and all the expert advice on the most pressing women's health issues inside the Women's Health Secrets packages.
Click below to see what's inside the silver, gold, and platinum packages and to make sure you choose your favorite option by the end of the free episode airing to take advantage of discounts of up to 67%. So before continuing, I suggest you take a moment, pause this video, and check out what's inside each package right now. So to give you a description of what's in the package and what comes in the mail with the platinum package, Laura and I have got the program here. So there you have the DVDs of all 10 episodes, plus some additional bonuses of the fitness and cooking demonstrations. The complete episode transcripts. So this accompanies all the videos of episode 1 through 10, so you can read along and get all the value from there. You also have the 67 key takeaways. So this is part of the core package, which is the most powerful distilled
15 days to brighter
series. So we're so glad.
Produces a lot of adipokines and cytokines and these chemicals that are highly inflammatory, and they fuel these diseases. And so we need to understand what this is really doing. We're in a situation where our bodies, when we overconsume, our bodies have to do something with the excess. And we do a couple of things. One of the things we do with the excess is we store it in our adipose tissue as fat. And that's stored for later use for when the famine's going to come. But when the famine never comes, then we're in a situation where we just keep storing and storing and storing. And it is devastating for the human body. And then the other thing that needs to be considered here is, the excessive consumption. So the other thing that happens is our bodies have a limited capacity to deal with this excess that comes in chronically, the excess of sugar, the excess of fat. So what happens is our liver's ability to convert those things to fat and store them can become overwhelmed. And so what can end up happening is we can induce something called lipotoxicity. And lipotoxicity is when we store in our bodies we store fat in places fat was not meant to be. So we start storing excessive fat. Instead of storing it in adipose tissue, we store it in liver cells. We store it in the cells of our pancreas. We store it in the cells of our heart. We store it in muscle tissue. And when we store fat in these places, it has a tremendously negative effect on the human body. So it drives inflammation and it drives insulin resistance. And that is not something we want to happen, because you end up with metabolic syndrome, with polycystic ovarian syndrome, with diabetes and prediabetes.
Before we embark on yet another round of the latest expensive dieting trend, we need to understand the root cause of our weight gain. To lose weight and keep it off, we need to understand why we're overweight and how to change this, something diets are not designed to do.
There can be a number of medical reasons contributing to our weight gain, amongst hormonal imbalances, thyroid conditions, a compromised metabolism, chronic gut digestion problems, and improper sleep. Emotional triggers are some of the most common reasons many of us struggle with our weight. It can be difficult to revisit the past or present traumas causing emotional eating, yet so liberating to finally identify them and let go of the heavy burden we have been literally carrying around, sometimes for decades.
Well, I really had a shift in my mindset of believing that I was meant for a better quality of life, that I was meant to not be inundated with prescription drugs. I knew that I was meant to not live in pain. And I started speaking these things out over my life and surrounding myself with other people that believed the same, just to have a community of like-minded individuals. And it dramatically changed how I viewed my body, my health, my worthiness. But what changed first was the mindset, how I felt about myself, to know who created me and am I worthy? And I really honestly had to start loving myself so that I could love my husband and our girls and love our neighbor better than I was before. Because when I wasn't loving myself, I wasn't loving anyone else to the quality that they deserve love. And when that changed in me first, and I realized that I am worthy and I am called to live a greater life, that's when I viewed food differently. I viewed supplementation differently. Those things catapulted my desire to be able to exercise. Then exercise took it to another level, just being exposed to information like you're being exposed to this, like mind blown with cleanses. So I want to share something with you that I actually just learned recently, is if you believe that you are healthy, so not saying that you actually are living a healthy lifestyle, but let's say you believe that you are healthy and you love your body and you believe that you treat your body well. When you go to a restaurant and you open a menu, your unconscious mind will actually go to all of the healthy options. You won't even register the dessert items or the high fat or the things that are going to be bad for you. You don't even register that they're there, because your mind is already controlling and going to, I'm healthy, I love my body, I love myself, this is what I'm going to fuel myself with. Someone that believes that they are not worthy, that they are fat, that they do not like their body, that they are not healthy, when they open that same menu, all they see are the things that are filled with sugar, the things that are actually going to attack their body versus fuel their body. This has actually been proven, this study of the mindset of belief. And it's so wild because when I researched this, I remembered that myself 8 years ago, I didn't love myself. I was in a place of self-destruction. I was the epitome of horrible health. And I remember every time I go out to eat, I would open the menu and it would be this internal battle of like, I looked at the dessert menu actually before I looked at anything else. And then after I looked at the dessert menu and picked out what I was going to have after I ate, I went straight to the, let's say, high fat or high carb meals. I didn't even look at the salad list. I didn't look at anything that was healthy. My mind only went to those, and I literally felt like I was bound to, like, once I read them, I couldn't order anything else. I had to get something from those categories. So when I found this research and this study done, it was like a light bulb for me. And I thought, oh my gosh, the last year, when my husband and I go out for a date night, when we do our best, we go out one night a week together alone, and we open the menu, and it's our week out. But at home, we cook very healthy and clean. So when we go out, I could have whatever I want. Well, what's wild is what I realized over this last year, loving myself, knowing that I'm worthy, knowing that I'm called to live a better life, and incorporating these supplements that have radically changed my energy levels. When I realized that when I open the menu, the only thing I read is the healthy food options.
Wow, that's powerful. And to know, basically, there's a lot of reasons for why someone struggles to believe their worthiness. And even believing that if somebody tells them you're worthy, it can be really hard to believe that for a while. What are some practical strategies that you have taken in your life to better that mindset, to change that mindset so that you can get to that place where you're automatically treating, living a healthy life, loving yourself, as you say? What are some practical strategies that you and your family have implemented throughout the years that have changed that mindset?
So there's several things that we've implemented to have a shift in this mindset. One of the things that we focus on in our household, right, because the people you live with are the people you see the most, you see them every day, is focusing on speaking words of encouragement and edification to one another. And what I have found is focusing on being grateful versus focusing in the past. I would have focused on the things I wasn't happy with. I would have focused on complaining or nagging. Now the mindset is, even if my mind wants to go that route of a complaint, I tell myself, what can I be thankful for and grateful for in this situation that's happened?
Weight loss resistance in women is almost always connected to hormonal imbalances in our 7 major metabolic hormones: insulin, estrogen, cortisol, thyroid, testosterone, growth hormone, and leptin. With people who struggle with autoimmune or conditions that they don't even know they have, or maybe they've been diagnosed with, and it's almost impossible for them to lose weight. But then when you say it that way, where weight loss is easy, and then you get all of these, because you get these conditions, resolved, and then it's like, do we have it backwards?
Yeah, so I hate when people just focus on calorie in, calorie out. Yeah, calories matter to an extent, but in my programs, we don't count any of them. We don't focus on calories or macros or any of that. I just teach them to get off the junk fake food, right? Which is pretty much like what is in every aisle of the grocery store. Mm-hmm. And we teach them to just eat real food, and we dial that in. And, speaking of that, I saw a picture this morning on social media of a little baby holding his little chubby belly, and the whole message behind it was, you're not fat, you're inflamed. Mm-hmm. And so I just say weight loss is just a symptom of a healthy body. It's just what happens when you start giving the body what it needs. The weight just starts to shed. Now, obviously, the bigger you are, it can take more time. So it's more than, a 21-day jump in fix. Like, sometimes that can work for people if they just want to, revisit it, shed a couple pounds, get a little bit healthier because they've noticed it going the other way. Yeah. But when patients practice, these healthier steps and put them in place day after day, mm-hmm. I always say that body composition is 90% diet and 10% exercise. And I think people are shocked by that because not to discount that 10%, it's 100% all on its own, but you can't out-exercise a healthy diet, right? Or an unhealthy diet.
No, I know. My mom, she's gotten some health recovery herself, and that's the one thing I've been trying to get her to exercise. But in 3 months, she went from size 14, which she was for many years, mm-hmm. to size 6.
Wow, yeah, that's amazing.
Without exercising, and she's healthier than ever, so it makes sense.
Every single woman wants to feel more confident in their skin. They want to feel more radiant and alive in their life. Many feel like they're carrying extra weight, and they'd really like to release that weight. What they don't realize that they come to learn when they learn more about this mind, body, spirit, holistic approach is, they can be eating 1,200 calories all day long, but if they don't deal with the underlying emotional reasons why they might be carrying the weight for safety, for security, for an emotional buffer, and really heal what food, the role that food is really carrying in their life as far as emotional and passion and purpose, that there's a connection there, they're not gonna shed the weight. So the weight issues are probably a pretty common one. It's a conscious choice. And I think the more we take full responsibility for our health and our vitality and recognize that it's a conscious choice, no one's making me put anything into my mouth today but me, right? I love our integrative medical doctor. He says that we are our firstborn, right? So if you have children, you think about who's your firstborn. He says, who puts you to bed at night? Who feeds you? Who bathes you? Who dresses you? Who cares for you? The most important child that you're going to care for is your own body. It's the only relationship we're guaranteed to have for our whole life, right? So it's super important that we recognize that and we take full responsibility for our experience.
So I want to share a couple more stories about how your health is affected by the food we eat. So I owned a meal delivery service in Los Angeles called Wholesome to Go. I no longer own it, even though I think it still exists. And at the time, I had a client who came to me who was on the verge of type 2 diabetes. He had been informed from his doctor that he was recommending that he start taking insulin and or some kind of pharmaceutical. And the client said, before I do that, I just want to try something else first. And that's when he came to me. He ate my food for 2 weeks, went back to his doctor, was tested, and he was no longer on the verge of type 2 diabetes. That's how quick his body changed due to the food he was eating. That's one thing that's so important to know, is that our body is incredibly resilient. You can eat or do something that's bad for you for so long, but if you make that change, your body wants to get back to that neutral, to that healthy place. Your body craves it, it wants it. And so never be in despair if you are fearful that you've already gone too far. Never be in despair that you've ever gone past the tipping point, because your body is resilient and it will make changes very quickly. Better to do them sooner than later, but always better to make the changes than to not make the changes. And this client went back to the doctor. Doctor said, you're no longer on the verge of type 2 diabetes. What did you do? And he said, I started eating differently. And he was eating my food. The food I fed him was low carb, high protein, organic, homemade, no processed foods. Everything was quality, fats, no processed anything. And he told the doctor this, the doctor didn't believe him. Doctor did not believe that his diet would so quickly affect what was going on in his body around his potential type 2 diabetes. And he is no longer with that doctor. And from that point forward, he swore by what he ate and how it affected his body. He absolutely believed it and lived it. And it was really powerful to see the changes. And from there, he just got healthier and healthier. A story that was more recent I'd love to share is a friend of ours came to live with us and starting this health program that I was going to cook for her and that Margaret was going to oversee as her nutritionist. And I was blown away by, even in my 15 years of doing this, was by day 2 of eating the way I was preparing, she had already lost tons of weight in her face. Now, granted, most of it was water weight, but there was so much inflammation in her face from all the processed foods she was eating that just changing her diet for 2 days, she looked like a different person. Like I think I had gone away for 1 day in between there, and I came back and I did not recognize her. She had lost so much weight in her face alone. Now, since then, I think she's lost nearly 60 pounds, something like that. It's incredible. Now, I want to tell you this story mostly because of how fast it occurred for her. It was just 2 days of not eating the processed foods. Now, she was eating out at fast food places left and right. She was eating a lot of foods that her body did not like. And that's what, inflammation is basically informing you that you are putting things in your body that are disrupting your body, that your body is needing to protect itself from. And that's where inflammation is coming from. So it's amazing when you cut that food out, how quickly your body responds, and for the better.
This symptom sheet here shows when she first started with us and what her ratings were on her symptoms. And so it's coded with numbers and colors. 10 is the worst, and the goal is to get to 0 symptom. And so the higher they are on their number, like 8s and 9s, it's going to be more red, right?
So is this her? She's writing these down on paper, saying here's where she's at.
Yes. So this is an interactive spreadsheet. So
Right.
as she fills it out each time, it will color code it as well. This one that's red all the way across, that's just her weight. So she started at 354, and
Pounds?
in 90 days she was down to 323.
Okay.
So she had lost about 30 pounds in the first 90 days.
Yeah, that's great.
All right. And so,
Wow.
that's amazing. And she's still losing weight.
Yeah.
When she came to see us, not only did she have all these symptoms, but when her initial labs came back, the initial ones, not all the toxin ones yet, but when her initial labs came back, she had raging type 2 diabetes, and she didn't even know it. So like right here, if you take a look here, she was 8.8 for reference range. You want to be less than 5.6 on this marker. If you're over 5.6, you've gone right into type 2 diabetes. And her blood sugar was super high. She was showing on her blood work a lot of patterns of having a lot of toxic load. Her liver enzymes were high, so they were right here, all in yellow. So anything that's in color is showing that it's high or very, very high. So she was showing a toxic overload. And so this was like the 30,000 foot view showing us that she really had some toxic overload. Another sign of the toxic overload and the massive inflammation she was having was her cholesterol. And you can see in her entire cholesterol panel, she was all in reds and pinks. She was very, very high. Her triglycerides were 413. For reference, you want to be under 150. So she was just having a lot of toxic overload. And once her other labs started to come in, it did show that she had some really high levels of some of the different plastic and petroleum-based toxins in her body. And that was totally inhibiting her metabolic system, right? And her metabolic system is what? It's going to trickle down to affect her blood sugar and how she's regulating her blood sugar, right? And it's also going to affect her hormones, and it's going to affect her brain chemistry. And so we were able to trace it back. The blood work gave us an overall view of what's wrong, right? So a lot of inflammation. She looked like she had toxic overload. Her liver looked like it was really stressed. And we found this type 2 diabetes that she didn't even know she had. But when we started digging deeper, we saw that she had a lot of toxins, right? So we've started working with her. And I want to show you one other thing on her blood work that was super significant was her C-reactive protein level, which was her C-reactive protein level, which was very high. The C-reactive protein level is a inflammatory marker, and it was like 19. And I'm looking for it. I've got it here somewhere. It was like 19. And when we looked at it again, I want to show you that 4 months later, she was down at 1.1. And that was amazing. That's even in the Western medicine community, if they see a CRP level that's as high as hers, they would freak out and panic that she's going to have like a heart attack or a stroke or something because the inflammation is so bad. What we know is that it's not just causing an issue with that. That inflammation is in her entire body. Her brain is on fire. Her organs are on fire. Every single tissue in her body is on fire. And we could see from the toxin tests that it was all of these toxins. So we started detoxing her as fast as she could handle it. And she was actually able to handle pretty fast detox. And we were able to bring her CRP level in 4 months. We were able to bring it down pretty much back into range again. Absolutely incredible.
So many women are trying these things out and it's not working for them. Women's bodies are so much more sensitive to our environment than a man's body because we're the perpetuators of the species, So it's a lot of things are harder for women than they are for men as far as healing goes. And I share what I know in these small relationships, in my little small community at the time, but something started burning in me, like, I'm not alone on this journey. There are so many other women who are just like me, who are struggling with their health, and they're beating their head against the same walls that I beat my head against. And I've learned things along the way that have really helped me to advocate for myself more successfully. And that's really where the vision for Healing Rosie was born. So I launched about a year ago. Healing Rosie is a community for women who are dealing with a lot of the chronic health diseases that we deal with as we age, So a lot of them eventually impact our hormones, but there's also a lot of autoimmunity that happen for women as they're getting older. And, these are things that doctors don't recognize. I was hearing, going into doctors, as I mentioned, I was hearing your labs are normal, everything is fine. Or I keep going on, and it's like, maybe we should think about an antidepressant for you. Maybe you have hysteria. Maybe this is anxiety. Maybe this really isn't something in your body. Maybe you're making it up in your head. Like, this is so rampant. You would think that we were back in like 1895. It's really, really crazy what happens to women who start experiencing these symptoms and speaking up about them. Someone just messaged me in our community who has Hashimoto's. She got her diagnosis about a year ago, and her doctor told her that he wanted her to keep him informed of the symptoms that she's experiencing, So she would go into her follow-up appointments and tell the doctor about the symptoms, and he would tend to offer an excuse for them or blow them off, blow them off. And then finally, over time, he started suggesting to her that maybe she needed to go on antidepressants. And she was kind of horrified by this, because he asked her, from her perspective, you want to know how this is affecting me? And then I tell you how it's affecting me, and you're annoyed and you want to put me on antidepressants? This is what women are dealing with in the conventional medical system. And it's really, really frustrating, And as a woman who's been really blessed to get so much of her life back, I don't want to see my sister suffering like that. I want them to know that there's another way, there's another path you can take. You have to take yourself from the passenger seat, put yourself in the driver's seat, take on something that's really scary and unfamiliar, but you can do it. And if you have the right tools, you actually can get your health back.
When I was a woman who was totally in this slave driving relationship with myself and my body, how do you think that impacted my marriage? How do you think that impacted my children? Where now that I've completely transformed that, and I have this way more loving, accepting, nurturing, life-giving relationship with myself, obviously, that would tell you I'm that much more available to be loving to my husband and to my children, and also in my area of vocation. So it's all interconnected. So we look at the web, right? We look at all of these quadrants. We get a lay of the land for the longing and the discontent, the symptoms that are rising up, and what is the current state of conditions, diagnosis, what's going on there. And we just kind of write it all down. We lay it all out. Then the next thing we do is we say, okay, so let's imagine it's 3 years from now. And what if it was easy? What if this was completely transformed? What if your dream life, whatever you would absolutely love, if you could wave a magic wand, and we know that there are parts of you going, yeah, but it's impossible. Yeah, but I've been told by my doctors. Yeah, but it's been this way for 40 years. If we were just to put the how on hold and all of the impossibilities on hold and ask ourselves, what are the infinite possibilities? What would that look like? Let's just dream it up. And we do the same thing in all quadrants. If we were to take this and flip it into the ideal result, right? What would that vision look like? And it's a vision for vibrant health, vitality, radiance. You wake up rested, your relationship with food and movement. Most people are saying there's no any kind of medications they're on. That's been totally transformed. They're in some sort of a life-giving relationship that's in harmony. They're doing work in the world that they absolutely love. And many of them have no idea how they're going to get there. And that's not what we're working on yet. We're not working on the how. We're just simply focused on the what. We've pushed pause on the how for now, and we write up this vision. Now, for some people, it's we usually start with a written vision, and we calibrate that vision so that it's in the most empowering wording. And then other people, it's more of a mind map or like a vision board. I'm sure many people have seen those vision boards, but visuals, images, and words that really represent the specificity of really what they would love. Once we get clarity on where they are right now and the lay of the land there, and then what they would love and really how they would love to transform that, then we discuss really working together to help them shift the mental, emotional, patterns that are creating a result that they're currently experiencing, in addition to any kind of Western treatment that they're working on. We are adding the emotional and the spiritual component and really rewiring any of these subconscious limiting beliefs that are really the undergirding of every result that they're experiencing.
Research scientists have known for years that high-calorie, sweet, and fatty foods can cause changes in the structure and circuitry of the brain. Studies demonstrate that many regions of the brain, including those involved in anticipation of and the satisfaction derived from rewards, are altered in similar ways by drug use and by the consumption of certain high-carb and high-fat foods, the bad fat foods, and especially foods that are rich in both carbohydrates and fats. Strong cravings for certain foods may be linked to biological drives that vary among different people. There could also be a problem with the neural mechanisms in the brain which control impulsivity and self-regulation.
In June 2019, the University of Newcastle in Australia happened.
That's yours.
Yes, it is. I went there. That was where I studied. So lots of memories, University of Newcastle. But they conducted a pilot study that demonstrates the activation of the BLA, the basolateral amygdala in the brain, linked to the reward-seeking behaviors and weight gain, which was associated with food addiction symptoms.
If you think of our digestive system as this tube with two openings through which the stuff we need and the stuff we don't want gets absorbed into our body, maybe you'll start to be a little more considerate and a little more thoughtful into what actually goes into that mouth. Inside that tube, which is not actually part of us, which is an open loop, just with a beginning and an end, there's a whole new community of life that lives. And that's our microbiome, or our digestive and nutritive kind of colony of assistants. We can have great bacteria that live in our digestive tract that help us absorb various minerals or vitamins, and then we can have some bad actors that take up residence in our gut and use us for their own purposes. So things like Clostridia bacteria, they like certain foods. Yeast, fungus, can take up residence in our digestive tract. They really like refined carbohydrates. They really like sugar. So you're getting particular messages, oh, I'm just craving that pastry, or I'm craving that bowl of candy I hid in the back of my pantry. What if it wasn't you that was actually craving it? What if it was a message delivered to you by your gut bacteria or your microbiome fungus residents that wanted that sweet, that candy? It's really interesting that the balance of who's living in our digestive tract gets disrupted over time. The balance of what's living in our digestive tract changes when we eat certain foods, when we travel and get introduced to new bugs, if we take antibiotics and it can kill off some of the good guys, and then the bad guys have a chance to multiply. So most of us as adults get a pretty unbalanced digestive colony of bacteria. So our microbiome either works for us or it works against us. It sends us messages to eat certain food through this nerve that connects our digestive tract to our brain. And sometimes we actually need to override it and start to eat for the good bacteria that we want to be fed. So instead of eating those refined carbohydrates or those sugars that are feeding the bad guys, we have to think, who would I like to feed today? I'd actually like to feed the good bacteria that are living in my digestive tract, the good bacteria that are actually helping me process vitamins and minerals. So I think I'll eat some vegetable fiber, which feeds the good bacteria. I think I'll eat some regular fiber from whole grains. That'll help feed the good bacteria. If you think about your eating plan as not just what your taste buds are craving, you think they're craving. It might actually be a craving from your digestive system bacteria. If you plan what you eat to actually feed the good guys and feed the cells of your body, everything starts working more on your behalf, for your benefit. And the immune system starts to function better because the good guys are fortified. When you eat junk food, refined food, lots and lots of sugar or fat, you're actually shifting things in your digestive tract towards the bad guys that aren't operating on your behalf, that aren't creating health for you. So think about that next time. When you go to eat a meal, who do you want to feed in this accessory community that is living inside you, that's working on your behalf or working against you? Who do you want to feed? I think vegetables are a great option. I believe we've been misinformed about how our body works. So if you're truly interested in health, one of the first steps to take is looking at your body from a different angle. Not the way your traditional doctor has taught you, not the way the pharmaceutical ads on TV are encouraging you, that there's an instant fix. It starts with taking responsibility for this amazing housing for what's best about us, our soul, our spirit, our mission, our love for our family. Like, this is where it's able to move around and do its actions from. Our bodies aren't simply a collection of organs, tissues, and cells. Every part is interconnected with all the others. So to achieve optimal health, we need to take a holistic approach and heal the root cause of any physical, mental, and emotional conditions that are plaguing us. For women, many of our health conditions are rooted in hormonal imbalances, vitamin and nutrient deficiencies, and toxin overload, which impede our bodies from functioning properly.
Millions of women struggle to lose excess weight despite eating right and exercising regularly. Many others suffer from pain, possibly reproductive issues associated with endometriosis or ovarian cysts.
Their doctors have likely prescribed new diets and pain medications to deal with the symptoms. But simply making the pain go away for a few days does nothing to treat the underlying condition. In Women's Health Secrets, we're exploring natural healing remedies that heal the disorders, not simply mask the symptoms. You'll be amazed at how effective these natural medicines can be at restoring your body's balance.
Apple cider vinegar can be useful for people with diabetes, prediabetes, or others who need to regulate their blood sugar levels. In studies, apple cider vinegar has been shown to improve insulin sensitivity during a high-carb meal by 19 to 34%, and significantly lower blood sugar and insulin responses. Taking 2 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar before bedtime can reduce fasting blood sugar in the morning by 4%. Improving our insulin levels also helps us to lose excess weight and deal with endometriosis and ovarian cysts.
This next one is a case who came to see us, 60-year-old female. And she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And she's so feisty. I love this woman. She refused to take the medications because she asked the doctor, well, can't I reverse this type 2 diabetes? And the doctor said, no, you can't reverse the type 2 diabetes. You need to take this medication. She absolutely refused to take that as an answer. And that's what I want to see more women doing. We need to be advocates for our own health. We need to take charge. If your doctor tells you something and it doesn't resonate with you, don't go home and feel defeated like, well, the doctor said I have to live with this. Most likely you do not have to live with it. And she's amazing, and I love her feistiness because she was not going to accept that as an answer. And so she came to us, and we were just delighted to have her. I love working with type 2 diabetes cases. For us, they are easy. We reverse type 2 diabetes every single time that we work with type 2 diabetes. So I want to show you the case study because this is just crazy amazing. We did her initial lab work, and I'm going to circle this, and then I'll put it up in front so that you guys can see it here. When she came to see us, her glucose was 248. Just for reference range, we want to see the standard medical range is between 65 and 99. Functional doctors, holistic doctors, we like a tighter range. We like to see it between 72 and 90. Okay. But yeah, I mean,
It's good to be
she was at 248. That's so scary. That's just so scary. Even for an MD, like that's scary. And she had, her hemoglobin A1C was 11.10. Okay. And for reference range, anything over 5.6 is diabetes. She was almost double the number at 11.10. On top of that, her cholesterol was 268. We like to see them, right around below the 2, like 170, 180, 190, like somewhere in there optimally for total cholesterol numbers. Her triglycerides were 190. For reference range, we want to see that under 150. Her LDL cholesterol, people call it the bad cholesterol. It's not bad. We have to have cholesterol to make our hormones. But just like with blood sugar or blood pressure or any other type of hormone in the body, you want it within range, right? So it's not really a bad cholesterol. But you want to see that like right below the 130 range, somewhere between like 90 and 130 is nice, right? She was at 181. And so let me show you what we did with her. This was in May. Just a few weeks ago. This was in May of this year, May 23rd. So take a look here, and you can zoom in on what I circled. So right here is her glucose and her hemoglobin A1C. And you can see there's like some type 2 diabetes going on, like raging type 2 diabetes, scary diabetes. And then that was coupled with very high total cholesterol, high triglycerides, high LDL. When you combine the high blood sugar with the high cholesterol numbers, you have a recipe for disaster. Like you're looking at stroke, heart attack, you're looking at causing, really, really bad damage to the kidneys and the inner walls of the arteries when you have that, because there's so much inflammation from the high blood sugar that it starts tearing the inside of the arteries. And that's what we call AV nicking. And it's like a hangnail. So now you've got these little tears that are like little hooks on the inside of the arterial wall. And as everything is floating downstream, including cholesterol, the cholesterol gets stuck. It gets hooked by the tear. And then it starts building up a big clot, which can lead to a stroke, right? So it's not the cholesterol that causes the stroke. It's the inflammation that causes tearing of the inside of the arterial wall that causes the stroke.
Something is inflaming that.
Right, something is inflaming that. And in her case, it was the type 2 diabetes. So we started working with her, and this was May 23rd. Let me show you the after. So her follow-up, this isn't really a true after. We're working with her for several months. But we did our first retest, and this was a month later, June 20th. And let me just circle this, and then I'll show you in front of the camera here. So just for reference range, remember that the total cholesterol was 268. It's 193. Her triglycerides that were 190 are 107. Her LDL that was 181 is 120. We did that in 4 weeks. And actually, it was a little less than that because it took her about a week to get her supplements. So, yeah, so it was about 3 weeks' time that we lowered that.
Amazing.
Her glucose went from 248 to 120, right? And her hemoglobin A1C went from 11.10 to 9.2. Then we retested her again this month. Last month, July 22nd. So another 4 weeks later. And it came down again. Her cholesterol went from 268 to 193 at the last test to 172.
That's amazing.
Right? So now she's perfectly within range. She's perfectly within range. Her triglycerides are down to 105, so she went down another 2 points from 2 months ago. And her LDLs are down at 103. So remember, her LDLs were at 181 8 weeks prior. They're at 103 now. Her glucose is up at 140. It's bumping up and down just a little bit, but it's going to stabilize. But the A1C level, that's that diabetes marker, that's showing us what her blood sugar levels are doing over the long term, over a range of time, where the glucose marker is showing like what was happening right at that minute. Right? She could have been stressed and that could have caused a spike. So we want to look at the long term. She's down at 7.5. And remember that, once she gets under 5.6, she's diabetes free. She's going to be diabetes free in another eight weeks, right?
amazing.
So here are the numbers. If you want to take a look at that, right? Just for the before and after. She's down at 172 with total cholesterol. Skipping down here, hemoglobin A1C, the diabetes marker is 7.5. So she went down from 11.10 to 7.5.
In general, in 1936, the Congress in U.S. realized that 99% of the population is mineral deficient. So everybody needs mineral concentrate. That's why I like the Shilajit. It gets all the micronutrients. And then I look at, you don't need calcium. There's a lot of calcium around. But I look at the magnesium, and I use Ingstrom. So it goes right into the system. It's absorbed in your mouth. Otherwise, often magnesium will go and make your bowels move. About 80% of the population is deficient in magnesium. That's huge, okay? Women who are meat eaters have 4 times more osteoporosis than women who are vegan. That's important. And it's also true for men, 4 times more. So that's huge. So you gotta, the meat pulls out with the high phosphorus, and it pulls out the calcium out of the system, and the magnesium out of the system, and the boron out of the system. Now, boron is another really, really important mineral. People are not getting enough. 3 milligrams a day is like the minimum one needs. Okay, but boron's needed to adequately remineralize the bones. So these are all kind of pieces. And men got osteoporosis too, but obviously now they have it half as much as women. So meat eaters are at high risk because it's like 4 times greater. So that's a big issue. Now vegans are also, meat eaters, 26% of the people have some kind of kidney problem, whereas only 2% of vegans. So that's kind of what I'm saying. We can't treat the specific organs because it's a little bit variable, is what I'm trying to say. But you need your minerals. If you're going to take vitamin D, which most people need because we're not getting enough, to get us up to the 60 to 80, 30 being the minimum, which is needed for brain development and anti-diabetes, multiple things, then you need to have a little bit of vitamin D supplementation, but you have to take vitamin K along with it. Because vitamin K stimulates calcitonin that makes sure it remineralizes the bones. Otherwise, you get the deposit of calcium in the tissues. That's not what we like. It's not a good thing. So everybody kind of needs these kind of basics. They need the C's, they need the basics of the B. brain function is really, every time you have a thought using a, B3, B6, B12, folic acid, you're using them up. It's not like you just store it and it just stays there. We're using it. So we're always having to replenish those. But I'm looking at food concentrates as the best way to replenish it, as our soils are so deficient now. Big problem. So we're humans. We have we have the ability to adjust.
Let's talk about going further. So we're talking about there's natural environmental causes that are propagating this disease. Right. And the ultimate underlying base is the inflammation of this tissue, right?
Right.
And you were telling me that, in order for us to understand what us women go through, our significant others, or the people that we live with, are the males as well. Let's look at the differences. I mean, you were telling me about this tissue. There's more information that I had no idea, and I'm still learning, that you can shed some light on this tissue, our brain, everything, our heart, our organs, those things that we have so many struggles with, our gut, everything is made out of tissue. So help me to understand this a little bit more about the connective tissue that holds us together. And if we can understand that, then we can go further into this journey.
We have, it's interesting, structurally, our bones, our organs, our muscles, our nerves, everything, everything in our body is held together by what we call connective tissue, or the medical term is fascia. Fascia is what this is called. And
I hear that a lot in cellulite, something that women are always trying to fight.
Right. It's the fascia. Well, and it is. I'm going to give you an example of why that is. Okay, so the connective tissue, boys and girls are different, right? Very different.
That.
We know that, right?
But how different are
we? Well, we're not just anatomically different. We're not just wired different. We're different from a connective tissue level also. Women's connective tissue system is more like a box stitch formation, if you will. So there's this box stitch formation, kind of a cube, box, and it's designed that way. Because women are designed to have children. In this box stitch, if you take a box stitch, blanket or something like that, you'll notice that it stretches and it comes right back again. And it stretches, and it'll come right back again. It's designed that way, right? So women are designed with a structural integrity that they have the ability to expand and come back together again. So when you're growing a baby, right? You have a baby.
Yes.
As a woman's pregnant, her body has to expand to accommodate this little one, right? In the delivery process, the pelvis has to be able to expand, and then it all has to go back together again. It does. This way it's designed is amazing. Now, because of that box stitch design, right? If that box gets stretched too far and stays stretched too far, it becomes a place where things can be deposited. Fat can get deposited in that. So that would bring on why ladies tend to have more cellulite issues than men. On the other side, as fellas, we have a different design in our structure, our connective tissue system. So we have that box stitch, but then we have another layer of connective tissue reinforcing that box. So it's we're actually built. We don't expand and contract quite as well. We tend to be more we expand, but if we expand too far, it causes us all kinds of problems. We end up with arthritis, degenerative joints, and things like that. And
Is that where you see more of those situations with men versus women?
Right. And so
okay.
ladies, it's the chronic inflammation that causes their connective tissue system to expand and stay expanded. And just like we talked about the 2x4, when that tissue gets stretched out because it's inflamed, it starts losing structural integrity. And so when that happens, not only is it detrimental to, for things like wrinkles or, sagging this, sagging that, also, let's say it's a thyroid.
Yeah.
Okay. If the thyroid gets swollen and stays swollen, that swelling inhibits the circulation in and out of the thyroid.
Okay.
Therefore, the metabolism and the healing capacity of the thyroid gets diminished.
Wow.
Okay. Or the adrenal gland, or the liver, or the brain, or the heart.
And then we get the symptoms that we get with thyroid conditions, the symptoms that we get with adrenal fatigue, feeling tired all day, symptoms that we get for when we have cellulite. That is a red flag for that the integrity of that connective tissue is pretty vulnerable, and that should give us an indication, hey, what can I do about this to bring that elasticity back?
Right. And the elasticity will return when the swelling's gone.
Inflammation.
And so it goes back to inflammation. So inflammation isn't a disease. Inflammation is the body's response. Okay, so it's initially, like we talked about a burn or sprained ankle or something like that. Initially, the body will respond like to a burn. It'll flush fluid to the area to soothe that, to rehydrate, right? It'll rush fluid to a sprained ankle to brace it.
Yeah.
Okay. If the fluid doesn't go away, degeneration starts to set in. Okay. My point is, something had to trigger that inflammatory response.
Let's start with GI. Most people, when they come in, the majority of people have issues with gas, bloating, uncomfortableness. They end up looking a lot like six months pregnant. I see a great deal of women, and they complain they can't get into their pants at the end of the day. They are either constipated or they've got diarrhea. And then we've got the more severe cases where there's Crohn's disease, ulcerative colitis, celiac. So there's a whole variety. But I'd say majority of the population suffer from the swollen belly syndrome. That's what I call it, swollen belly syndrome, SBS. And like I said, it is with either irritable bowel issues or they've got gas and bloating. And those individuals, when they have that swollen belly, the first thing that we got to do is we got to change what's going in. And what I put them on is a specific diet where they're not eating a lot of fermentable carbohydrates. Do you know what fermentable carbohydrates? Yeah, fermentable carbohydrates are natural sugars that are in a lot of food that we eat every day, like broccoli, cauliflower, certain types of fruit like cherries, watermelon, apples, pears. I mean, these are good food that we deal with, right? We want us to eat all that, but all of them have these specific fermentable carbohydrates that makes our body cannot digest it. So fermentable meaning in the gut. When you eat it, it goes deeper. And if you've got an imbalance in your gut and you've got bugs that are a little more than you should have, and other bugs like that cause irritation and inflammation, like candida, for instance, let's say yeast overgrowth, then you're going to have more fermentation. And that's what starts. So a lot of people say, oh my God, I didn't eat anything and I look great. My body feels super. That's because you're not eating anything that's feeding the bugs lower in your, either it's in small or large intestine. So I look at all the foods that they eat, and then I give them a precise meal plan so that we take out the fermentable carbohydrates for about 6 weeks. And why 6 weeks? Because we need fermentable carbohydrates later on to feed the bugs that are the good ones, right? During that time, I put them on cucumber kimchi. I'm Korean, and I've been brought up with kimchi. And kimchi is an ancient, probiotic-rich, fermented superfood that Koreans have been eating for 2,000 years. And it's a food that helps with digestion. It's a pre-digested vegetable. Why cucumber? Cucumber is not a fermentable carbohydrate food. It's not a fermentable carbohydrate vegetable. So it doesn't create fermentation in your gut. So by using cucumbers, I'm inoculating slowly, little by little, a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons. That's it. In my new book, The Kimchi Diet, I teach you how to make cucumber kimchi so that you can create that. And while you're removing that fermentable carbohydrate, we're putting in the new, right? We're cleansing out, detoxing the bad, putting it in the new. During this time, I do use enzymes if they've got problems with digestive enzymes. Now, I do a stool test. I do 2 of them. I do Genova stool test, which is a functional test of the gut microbiome and how it acts. And it shows whether you have enough pancreatic enzymes. Number 2, I use GI map. That has all the parasites, the bacteria, the shifting, and the different types of even yeast. And that's a PCR. It has polymerase chain reaction type of testing where it tests the DNA of the bug. So of that microbe. So if they find it, I know it's there. You know what I mean? It's a specific marker. It tags it. It's like a signature of it. So then I do both. And with that both, I know exactly then, at least from the testing, what's going on in the microbiome, how they're digesting food. So many people. And I know that a lot of the looseness, the diarrhea, as soon as they eat, they've got to run to the bathroom. A lot of that is actually poor fat digestion, malabsorption of fat. And I see that often in the Genova. It's called GI maps. I see it often. So those individuals, I've got to shift their enzymes. You can't just pop. I'm going to take an enzyme, it's going to do the job. Because you need bile. You need, when it comes to fats. And most fats, you eat it with meat. So then you need hydrochloric acid and betaine HCl. So the supplements I recommend depends on your ability to digest. What is it that you're eating and how much do you need? And then from there, I'm someone that loves phosphatidylcholine. And that's an actual phospholipid that helps you make more bile. If you make more bile, then you're going to digest those fats and you're not going to have the runs right after you eat, or you have to run and just have loose stool. That's a very, very common symptom in a lot of individuals with gut issues. So we target the enzymes, right? And then, of course, I'm all about also, you got to masticate, you got to eat well, like chew your food. We've got those incisors and we've got the big teeth in the back, the molars, so that we can grind, and you got to make that food that you're eating, each bite, into liquid. Really eat your food and make it into liquids. That's about 20 times a bite. So the action of eating is really important. Eating with love and joy and loving what you're eating.
Our body's circadian rhythm regulates physical, mental, and behavioral changes that follow a daily cycle such as sleep. And you know how much we love our sleep.
Well, I do.
Yeah, I definitely do.
We can't live without it. It's when we get our repair and recovery, our body goes into healing, but we're not really happy if we don't get our sleep. It's kind of like shows. Sleep is essential for happiness, I would say. But what else you got to say, Lori?
Well, light is the strongest environmental effect on our circadian rhythm, with blue light creating the strongest response. Blue light is naturally emitted from the sun. Years ago, our exposure to blue light was limited when the sun set. However, modern day use of electronics prolongs our daily exposure throughout the evening and often into the night. Artificial lighting tends to be strongest from digital screens, which often produce strong blue light wavelengths. This disrupts our circadian rhythm, which hinders your body's ability to produce melatonin, a natural hormone produced by the body to regulate sleep. This leads to a lower quality and quantity of sleep, which can result in suppression of several processes that are known to affect the mood. A lack of sleep can also increase cortisol production, which makes us burn muscle and store fat. Ugh! A high cortisol level also increases your appetite. Sunshine and rest are part of the healthiest living practices, infamously known as New Start.
The New Start principles evolved from the Blue Zone communities, regions around the world known to have the highest rate of centenarian population, people living to 100 years and longer. Research has attributed the long, healthy lives of these people in these areas to their belief and their practice of these certain principles. New Start stands for nutrition,
exercise,
water,
sunlight,
temperance,
air,
rest,
and trust.
They believe in the importance of community, interaction between the young and elderly, and have strong faith, engage in moderate daily exercise during the course of their day, eat healthy, mostly plant-based diets, often from foods that they've grown in their own gardens, indulge in restful sleep, and spending time in nature. In these ways, they maintain healthy, lean bodies, active minds, and joyful spirits, thus lowering stress and food or toxin-related diseases. They live full, healthy, and meaningful lives.
And don't we want that?
Yes. I know that these are things that everyone I talk to could do with a little bit more of some of that.
For sure. For sure.
So what about you? Do you feel like you need a little more peace, a little more relaxation, a little more joy in your life? Well, it's all about what we put in, right, Lori?
Exactly.
What are we fueling our bodies, our minds with? And when we put in the right fuel, we get the right response and experience in our lives. And nothing else can do it besides living by the right principles. No pill can do that for you. That's about making a change and a commitment to yourself. And in fact, the best commitment that you could ever make, which is to truly love yourself and to truly strive for yourself and those that you love by enacting these wise and tested and true principles.
Very well said.
Two main things that I want to talk about that. One plays off of what we've been talking about, and the other is related to hormones and how not only it affects women, but everybody in general. So I'm a big proponent of getting your hormones to function basically naturally. And one of the mismatches that I see with modern day living is the relationship we have with the light, with sunlight, circadian rhythms, and how those affect the hormonal cascade in the body. So the two main things to notice with that is that in the morning, we're basically designed to rise with the sun and go basically down or sleep or rest when the sun goes down. Doesn't necessarily mean that as soon as the sun goes down, you have to go straight to sleep, because honestly, we don't really have a history of doing that. Sometimes we would stay up telling stories by the fire and all that. What the difference is that fire emanates what's called a red or infrared light. There's no blue light in that fire. So what happens is that we do need blue light, but we need blue light in the morning and throughout the day until the sun starts to go down. That blue light is very effective to naturally produce adrenaline, cortisol, and the hormones that get you active throughout the day. So we have a natural tendency to go throughout the day with the same rhythms of the sun. What's happening nowadays is that, number one, we're not getting that morning sun, so we're not really activating the pituitary pineal gland to start to receive that signal through the eyes via sunlight. And that's one of the main things. And believe it or not, melatonin actually starts in the morning. It kicks in at night, and it's the one that helps you rest, recover, and also acts as an antioxidant that our body makes on its own. But what happens is that we're not receiving that signal in the morning from the sunlight. Midday is also a good time to expose your body to the sun so you get the natural vitamin D, but you also keep that circadian rhythm clocks going. And then at night, we're supposed to take all this artificial blue light, mainly from devices like your phones, computers, laptops and things like that, and turning that exposure down or eliminate it. So that's why you see a lot of like these orange blue blocking glasses being very popular now and things like that. And the reason I mention it is because all those things factor in to a good hormonal function in the body, which goes into the women's health, which again, it affects both men and women.
I know that there is some extra holistic practices that we can take that would enhance our health even so much more, and I would say are crucial parts of it. Not not the whole, but crucial parts of it, such as exercise, sunlight, chiropractics, massage, rest, water, different things like that. What can you share with it?
Exercise has been a huge part, but to be blatantly honest, it was not a part for the first 6 months. I had actually dropped 54 pounds just by feeding my body with what it needed and getting the toxins out. But it was something that when I lost the weight, I said, I want to be healthy. I want to be strong. And so that's when I started to exercise and see a whole new level of health. There's a whole new level of strength as well. So exercise has been something that we incorporate 4 to 6 days a week. Is it something where I'm sweating and ridiculous amount of cardio and all this? No, it can be as simple as stretching. You know, cardio could be for some people gardening. It's whatever it is that is going to be an extra level of what is going above and beyond what you would normally do.
Hi, I'm Coach Sarah from Functional Effect Fitness and Rehabilitation. And in this video, I'm going to be teaching you how to do metabolic conditioning. Metabolic conditioning is our version of cardio at Functional Effect. And it's a much more efficient way to move your body to help promote fat loss and to help complement your strength training routines. I'm going to be showing you today's workout and explaining all of the components, but it's going to be comprised of 30-second intervals. So we'll be doing 30 seconds of work followed by 30 seconds of rest, and you'll be completing your circuit for anywhere from 1 to 3 rounds, depending on your ability level and how frequently you choose to do this routine. So we're gonna go ahead and get started, but whether you choose to use an interval timer or just a stopwatch, whatever you choose to do, the 30-second intervals don't have to be on anything fancy. The first exercise up are body weight squats. So body weight squats, we're going to be performing with our chest nice and tall, feet about shoulder distance apart, and we're going to be doing as many body weight squats as we can do in 30 seconds. If you are someone who needs to have some assistance, you could use something like the TRX, and you could assist yourself by hanging on to the TRX for your squats, and it would look something like this. The second exercise up in your metabolic circuit are 4-count burpees. Now, 4-count burpees are going to look a little bit different than a traditional burpee in that we're excluding the push-up. If you want to turn up the intensity, you could turn this into a 6-count burpee, which is including the push-up. But I'm going to be showing you the 4-count version. So a 4-count burpee is going to be really simple. It's down to the ground, hop back to push-up position, hop back to a squat, and stand back up. If you need to decrease the intensity on these, you can elevate your hands to a bench, to a box, or to a stair so that you don't have to go as far down to the ground. Do as many repetitions as you can do in 30 seconds, and then rest. The third exercise, we're going to be doing body weight alternating reverse lunges. So standing nice and tall, we're going to do alternating reverse lunges, making sure that we're not banging the knee off the ground, that we're hovering the knee just above the floor. And again, if you need assistance, you can use the TRX handles or something similar to assist you. And you'll complete as many repetitions as you can in 30 seconds, and then rest. After you've completed your alternating reverse lunges, we're going to go into pledge planks. Pledge planks are done in push-up position, and we're going to be tapping alternating hand to shoulder while keeping your hips as still as possible. Your goal is to not let your hips rock from side to side. Do as many as you can in 30 seconds. And then the last exercise in your circuit are hip bridges. So you'll be turning over onto your back, palms up, heels fingertip distance away, and complete as many hip bridges as you can in 30 seconds. After you've completed your entire circuit, you get to break for 60 seconds before you repeat it all again. Now remember, you'll complete anywhere from 1 to 3 rounds of this circuit, and then once you're done with your metabolic circuit, unlike the strength training workout, you will have no finisher. This workout is its own self-contained finisher. And once you've completed your 1 to 3 rounds, you're going to finish by cooling down and rolling out. So this is a metabolic workout. These are a little bit shorter than your strength training workouts. And we recommend that you complete 1 to 2 metabolic workouts per week. You can look back to the general workout template to see how we structure a sample workout week.
And so if you want to go to the gym, awesome. If you want to go outside, go for a walk, breathe in that fresh air, then do it. But exercise is an important part. And, the body is a system. And if something is out of line, it's so important to go and get it put back into line because the mechanics of it are so important. And that's why our family chooses to definitely go and get regular chiropractic care. We do that for my husband and I, and our kids have actually been to the chiropractor as well. Something that we utilize, massage, floating, all of these different things that we utilize because it's an approach that needs to be well-rounded. There's not one answer. You can't exercise your way into health. You can't supplement your way into health. You can't just chiropractic your way into health. It needs to be a well-rounded system because you're a whole person. And so that's so important. And also supporting yourself with amazing relationships. And that starts with yourself and how you talk to yourself, how you treat yourself, and the people around you then is that next level. And so really just supporting yourself with a supportive environment.
In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to execute a strength training workout. Now, before you do the strength training workout, make sure that you have completed your foam rolling routine as well as the hip and core secrets routine, which you can go back and access both of those videos. It's important that you have all of the components in your strength training routine so that you prevent injury and that you properly warm your body up and get it ready for exercise. So once you've completed your foam rolling routine and your hip and core secrets routine, let's go ahead and get started with the strength routine. The first exercise up are dead bugs. We have a couple different levels that we can do our dead bugs at, so I'm going to show you all of them. Starting out with just the dead bug hold. The dead bug hold would be on your back in supine position, arms extended from the chest, shoulders in the ground, hip, knee, and ankle at 90 degrees. And we would hold here and breathe while maintaining a neutral spine. The second level would be simply alternating the arms while maintaining that same neutral spine position. The next level would be alternating the legs while maintaining the neutral spine position. And the hardest level would be alternating arms and leg at the same time while maintaining that neutral spine position. That is your first exercise, the dead bug. The second exercise up in your strength training routine is going to be the alternating T stabilization. Alternating T stabilizations start out in push-up position. And what we're going to do from here is rotate from the ankles, hips, and shoulders until the top arm is pointed to the ceiling and the shoulders are stacked. We're going to bring it back to push-up position and we're going to alternate to the other side. Now, if you need to make this a little bit easier, you can elevate your hands to a bench or to a box or to a stair, and you can do them from an incline. You'll do a total of 16 or 8 to each side. The third exercise in your strength training circuit is going to be squats. Now, you could choose to do these as body weight squats, or you could choose to add some weight via a dumbbell or via a kettlebell in what we call goblet position, which is right in front of our chest. So I'm going to be showing you with the kettlebell today, but you could just as easily do this vertically with a dumbbell. So we're going to be using the kettlebell and getting ourselves into a good squat position. So we want to be toes just slightly turned out, chest nice and tall. And if you need to pop a small 5-pound plate under your heels or fold up your mat and give yourself a slight high heel, you can absolutely heel lift. But we're going to hold the weight in front of the chest and we're going to imagine dropping the hips into a hole right between your feet and then drive up out of the hole up to standing, and repeat for the desired number of repetitions, which in our case is somewhere between 10 and 20. Completing all of your repetitions with good form and coming all the way to depth. After you complete your squats, we're gonna go back down to the mat and we're gonna go into an exercise called dead bugs. Dead bugs are done from our hands and our knees, or what we call 6-point position. 6-point position, it's important that we have the wrist right below the shoulder, and it's important that we have the knee right below the hip. The other thing that we want to make sure to do is take the arch out of our lower back so that we're not in a sway back position. So once we get into that nice neutral 6-point position, we're going to extend opposite arm and leg and then come back to that starting position. Alternate back and forth until you complete 8 repetitions on each side. And bird dog is going to be exercise 4. After we get through bird dogs, we're going to come to our feet and we're going to complete a round of 8 stationary inchworms. So inchworms are in your warm-up, but just to review, nice and tall, legs as straight as possible, reach for the floor, walk yourself out to push-up position. If you want to make these harder, you can add a push-up and then walk yourself back up to standing and reach for the ceiling. Again, walk yourself back out. You could stop here, or if you want to make it harder, add a push-up and walk yourself back up to standing and reach for the ceiling. After you've completed stationary inchworms, we're going to go into reverse lunges. Now you can do the reverse lunges with no weight, or you can choose to do the reverse lunges using a set of dumbbells. I'm going to show you using the set of dumbbells, but just imagine if you don't want to use these, you would just literally do the same motion with no weight in your hands. So we're going to stand up nice and tall, and when you do a reverse lunge, it's important that you keep your torso tall, step back into the lunge, and return that same leg, and you're going to repeat the same side for 8 repetitions, and then we're going to switch to the other leg. Making sure that if you need to, and if you have access to, you can use something like the TRX to support your lunges. So if you are somebody who needs to have a little bit of support, you can use a TRX to support you in that way. After you've completed your reverse lunges, you have 2 exercises remaining. The next exercise up is half kneeling, single arm overhead presses. Now for this exercise, if you have dumbbells available, that's great. But if you don't have dumbbells available, you could use anything that gives you a little bit of weight. It could be a heavy can. It could be a heavy toy. It could be anything that gives you some weight, a gallon jug of water. Anything goes. But we're going to get into half kneeling position, so one knee down. The knee that's on the ground is going to be the arm that's pressing. And we can have the other hand on the hip or down at our side. But we're going to press that weight overhead and then bring it back to the starting position. And we're going to complete the specified number of reps on each side, which in our case, we're going to be doing 15 repetitions on each arm. And then the last exercise, we're going to be coming back down to the mat on our back, and we're going to be ending with supine no monies. So to review, that is in the hip and core secret routine. We're going to be on your back, elbows glued to your sides, with or without the band. We're going to be opening up the arms and squeezing the shoulder blades underneath of us while maintaining that neutral spine. Bring it back to the starting position, and you'll complete the specified number of repetitions in the workout. Now, that is your circuit, and after you complete one round, you're going to take a 2 to 3 minute break And if you want to do multiple rounds, then you would complete the next round. Now, if you're done with your circuit, the final thing in your strength training workout is what we call the finisher. The finisher is going to be body weight speed squats for this workout. And the way that you're going to perform these is you're going to be doing, to start, 3 rounds. You'll do as many body weight squats as you can do in 30 seconds, and then you will rest for 30 seconds. So this is about speed. It's not necessarily about loading yourself up with weight, but if you would like to add a little bit of weight to the speed squats, you absolutely could if you no longer find body weight speed squats to be as challenging. So you'll start with 3 rounds. You'll do as many squats as you can in 30 seconds, rest for 30 seconds, get your breath back, go again. And that first week, you'll do 3 rounds. The second and third week that you do this workout, you'll increase that to 4 rounds. And then you'll eventually increase it to 5 rounds. And this is going to be your beginning strength training workout. Complete this workout 2 to 3 days a week, and you will see gradual and steady increases in your strength, your core stability, and you will start feeling a lot better. My name is Coach Sarah from Functional Effect Fitness and Rehabilitation, and this is your strength training workout. Get to work and let me know if you have any questions.
I had a lot of shoulder pain and structural struggles, and I went to physical therapy, and they said, well, you just have hypermobile instability. That'll never heal. The best thing to do is surgery or strengthen your muscles, but I could never strengthen my muscles because there was no tone back there.
Yeah.
Long story short, I started going to chiropractic, but the structural adjustments, they would not hold. And then when I got, all the pain went away. And funny enough, I could do things I thought I could never do. So it's pretty cool.
In war, we couldn't depend on you to serve, your brothers and sisters, and that was hard. And then he ended up training for a bodybuilding show, which he won, and all natural. And when he got his diet in line, he no longer needed that medication. So it hits close to home too. There's so many symptoms: pain, headache, nausea, just skin issues, fatigue, everything that responds to nutrition, because when you give the body what it needs to heal, it heals, right?
That there's only 5 or 6 lifestyle factors that you need to focus on to optimize your health. Not guarantee your health, but optimize your health. Don't smoke. Get some fitness in every day. It can be natural fitness like walking, standing, and bending and such, or it can be at the gym and more intense. That'd be number 2. Number 3, eat a lot of fruit and vegetables, whole grains, and legumes. That comes out of these studies. Number 4, alcohol in the Harvard Health Study isn't a no-no, but it's limited alcohol. It's less than 5 drinks a week. Number 5, keep your body weight good. That's one of the interesting findings in the Harvard School of Public Health. It's rather difficult in this country. There's a measure called the BMI, Body Mass Index, 20 to 25, and 3/4 of Americans are beyond that. They're overweight or obese. Many, many friends in Detroit as part of that have lost well over 100 pounds solely through converting from the standard American diet to plant diet. And by losing that 100 pounds, there goes brain health up and up and up because of that relationship, number 1, between body size and smaller brain over time. And if you will get your body weight more optimal, you'll be in a situation where you have better brain size long term. Plus, as you lose weight in that regard, whether it's 20 pounds, 40 pounds, or ultimately for some people over 100, I'll tell you another hero story in a second. Your blood pressure is down, your cholesterol is down, your blood sugar is down, your inflammation's down. It's called oxidative stress is down. You're going to have a better brain. There's no doubt about it. You just got to watch B12, a brain-friendly vitamin, and you want to be sure you measure and replace.
There was a woman that I personally worked with who came in, and I think she had recently turned 70, and a good friend of hers, she saw her friend go downhill almost like overnight, and it was a real wake-up call for her, because she'd always been relatively healthy, but she'd never really taken really good care of herself. And she realized, I better wake up. Like, I want to be exercising, I want to be eating healthy. And she said, I've tried, Jennifer, I can tell you countless times to start a healthy routine, and I just slip back into my old ways. So that tells you something.
willpower in and of itself isn't enough to get ourselves to do the thing that we know consciously we would really love to do. Otherwise, every person who ever made a New Year's resolution of eating healthier and exercising 60, 90 days out would have met their weight loss goals. Why do 90% of New Year's resolutions fail? It's because they don't address the subconscious limiting beliefs that they have about themselves that ultimately drive their emotions, that drive their actions, that drive their results. So long story short, we got down, we got deep, we got dirty. And I asked her, what kinds of messages were you given, growing up as a young woman about exercise? And we found out that she was told to never get sweaty. She was told that, good girls don't do that. And there were all of these really kind of non-logical messages that she was given about being a professional woman who always looked good, hair, makeup done, looking tidy, and that getting into exercise clothes and kind of getting a little maybe dirty or sweaty didn't match the belief that she had about who she was meant to be. And I could go on and on. We went through multiple beliefs and we just shifted them. We wrote down the limiting belief on the left and then we swapped it for the empowering belief. And then in order to rewire those limiting beliefs, you can't just say it once. It's constant space-time repetition of installing a new empowering belief in place of the old one every time you feel that resistance. And within about 45 days, she started, finally, it took a while. Like there were weeks where she was like, I'm going to do my walking. We started with 5 minutes a day. That's the other thing. Telling yourself, I'm going to work out an hour every day, or I'm going to completely transform my eating. Usually that limiting belief overrides that new habit that you're trying to install. So you want to start small, break it into bite-sized pieces. I call them really these powerful micro moves. So we started literally with just 5 minutes that she would go outside, walk around the block for 5 minutes and then come back in. And that she would at least do that, 3 times a week, right? And then that would grow and she would start to create some momentum with this new belief system, this new feeling about it, and this new action. And then the more you do that, you're wiring and firing new neuronal pathways in your brain, in your emotions, and in your results. So long story short, we completely rewired all of that. She started with the micro power moves that then grew into larger habits. And she now has a beautiful exercise walking routine that she loves and a new nutrition and nourishment for her body. She released 20 pounds effortlessly, right? It really isn't effortlessly, but it's from the inside out. It's not this, I think the Western approach is this outside in. You're trying to lay these new habits on top of old beliefs that are stale and we've outgrown, but we don't realize it. So when we go inside and we work with these, limiting beliefs and these emotional patterns that drive our behavior, rework that, then it feels effortless because the motivation's coming from the inside out versus the outside in. So, that's just one example, but we have many examples of people with all kinds of really what felt to them like terrifying diagnosis and prognosis of their health and well-being. And we just began with small, simple micro moves, really unpacking and uncovering what some of these limiting beliefs are, where some of the toxicity lies in their mental, emotional, spiritual, relational, or vocational lives, and just begin small, making small shifts, installing new powerful beliefs that then drive new emotions and new relationships with food, with movement, with others, with self, that then slowly they begin to really flourish.
It is possible, little by little, to shift the direction of your life. All you need to do is get on the same side as your body and make that intention real by investing in your own health. Investing in your own health with your daily choices. There's so much to be grateful for about how this body works, about the things you do have that are healthy. Focus on that. Focus on that and get curious and little by little start to shift what's not working. It's all possible. I have seen it happen time and time again. It's your chance to take charge and steer the ship where you want it to go. I've seen in so many patients that you can shift the outcome of your health in whatever direction you want it to go by making simple daily choices that are in alignment with your own best way forward. So consider that every choice you make is either creating or dissolving your health. And simply make more choices that create your health. Simply make more choices that fortify this incredible machinery that helps you do what you want to do in life. It's not rocket science, even though your doctors will lead you to believe that it is, and that you need 5 million complicated supplements, that you need 17 procedures, that you need 15 tests. It actually all starts with deciding, I'm taking the reins of my own health. I'm becoming the biggest advocate for my own body, and I'm going to treat it well. That's how you get healthy. Films like these are so important because as a physician, I often don't have a chance to share how you think about health, which is so much more important than what to do. So the to-dos are useful, but how you think about health, the relationship that you have with your body and with the daily choices you make, those are so critical to health. So if you can learn some of those tricks, some of those insights that medical professionals have gained over their 20-year career, like I have, don't take that lightly. There is value there that you can't imagine. If you start to look in on your life, look in on your body from a different angle, everything can change. Sometimes we're just too close and too much in the details or the descriptions of the dysfunction or the name of the dysfunction, when really, if we just took a step back and thought, what am I doing? I'm just trying to get this thing to work. You can do that with the insights provided by amazing medical professionals who have been through so much themselves with patients and in their own lives, and have been thinking about this, trying to solve these problems so that you don't have to go through all that pain and suffering. You can start where you are, you can take the reins, and you can move forward on this information available in incredible films like this. I would encourage people to watch as many films as they can that bring together thoughtful medical professionals to help you solve problems. Then you'll know specifically who you want to go to get the detailed information. But if you can create your own grand plan by watching a film like this, you can't put a price on that. By educating yourself, you're already taking the first step to empowering yourself. Learning from our world-class doctors, asking questions, and understanding how your body works will help you make the healthiest choices from now on. Be kind to yourself. If, like millions of women, you've spent years dieting to lose weight, stop. Diets don't work. Focus on making your body healthy, not skinny. Start with a clean slate, and by detoxing your body and eliminating anything that could be slowing down your metabolism. Flush out the heavy metals, parasites, and other accumulated waste slowing down your system. Then, start eating whole foods and cutting out processed foods laden with fat and sugar. Remember, this is a process.